Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Assalatu wassalamu ala asrofil anbiya'i wa mursalin sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi washabihi ajmain. Amma ba'du. First of all, let praise to be Allah, Lord of the world, who has given us mercy and patience until we can meet together in this presentation and time without hindrance of any. The second, salawat and greeting to our beloved Prophet Muhammad SAW, which has brought us from the darkness to the lightness by Islam religion. Hello everyone, welcome to our presentation. I say thank you all for watching this video. I am Sovia Oktaviani as a moderator from second groups. Our topic today is, there are not the kids I signed up for, the lived experience of general education, early childhood preservice teacher in classroom for children with special needs. The first material will be conveyed by my friends Diani.
The increased need to general education teacher to support students with disabilities has created an increase for educators to be prepared to teach students with and risk for a wide continuum of disabilities, for developing effective instruction for students with or special educators and general education trained to have different roles and responsibilities were supervised and provided in separate settings. Consequently, teacher preparation for the two areas has often provided a different set of skill and preparation, and different national preparation standard. While separate teacher preparation might be necessary for some components, a case could be made for general and special PhDs to learn from each other to combine coursework and file-based for experience. Research is slowly showing evidence that leads to the conclusion that preparation does make a difference in special education, and more preparation may be better than less. The idea that more preparation leads to more effective pedagogy may hold true for general education PhDs as they prepare to work with students with disabilities. Suggested file experience are critical because PhDs begin teachers' education program with preconceived notion about education as classrooms continue to become more diverse. Providing opportunities for diverse field experience is increasingly critical for preparing PhDs for their future roles as educators in diverse classrooms. Previous research suggests that when PhDs are given an opportunity to implement the practice learned in university coursework in classroom with students with disabilities, attitudes and beliefs about inclusion improve. While most university programs are required to include at least one course for general educator on special education. General education teachers candidates rarely have opportunities for authentic experience working in settings with children with special needs, and more specifically, students with severe disabilities. Therefore, the rationale behind the study was to examine if PhDs feels more prepared when they are provided with explicit experience in an exposure to students with diverse needs. The experience of each of the general education PhDs can be further understood through the lens of Brand-Fabrner's ecology system theory. This theory posits that various aspects of the environment we argue that ecological factors influence how PhDs relate and interact with their environment, including relationships with others, support, and teaching technique. This system reflects the complexity of the social culture world of a PhD and the multiple influences that impact its development. To address our research question within an ecological framework, we chose to use a phenomenological approach. In phenomenology, the transcend or suspend past knowledge and experience to understand a phenomenon at a deeper level. This approach attempts to understand lived experience with sense of newness to elicit rich and descriptive data. Universal School is a public school for children aged 3 to 21 who are identified as having cognitive disabilities. The school is located within a large school system that includes both urban and suburban areas. Classrooms are divided by groupings focused on the age level of the children rather than traditional grade designation. There are currently 4 clusters: early childhood, 5 class children aged 3 to 6, intermediate or elementary, 4 class children aged 6 to 10 or middle or high school, 4 class children aged 10 to 14, and high school, 3 class children aged 15 to 21 or 21. All of the PhDs in this study were placed in early childhood classroom, which have slightly different makeup than the older grade levels. Due to space restriction and available of public pre-kindergarten in the district, 3 preschool classes at various schools are composed of children with mild, moderate, and significant disabilities, as well as an equal number of peers without disabilities. With the exception of the PhDs placed at various schools, all past, current, and future placements are in general education classroom. Although the students may be provided with an opportunity to work with children with special needs, they will neither be mentored by a special educators, nor will they be required to determine formal accommodation and modification based on the individual education plan.
The second material will be conveyed by Della.
Hello everyone, let me introduce myself. My name is Della Srioktavia Nurilmy. Here I will present from data collection to interviews. Okay, start to presentation. And a comprehensive pictures of the PhD experience. Interviews and observation were the main data source. Phenomenological interviews and observation were conducted with each of the 3 PhDs because the quality method is qualitative data. Conducted 30 to 45 minutes interviews with each PhD about experience and insight. All interviews were recorded and transcribed. After the transcription was complete, all data were subjected to preliminary analysis using an open coding strategy to identify initial themes. The second analysis was then completed for review. As a requirement for higher education, teacher education programs. Each PhD is observed 3 times during one semester. Observation notes were recorded by the university supervisor and included a script of the interaction between the CSWs and the children in the class, and a detailed description of the activities and learning undertaken by each PST. Context include 3. Number 1, show interview preliminary observation. Number 2, interview midpoint observation. And then number 3, final interview observation. So, interview or initial observation. Su had worked in childcare for 10 years before entering university to complete a postgraduate degree in childhood and earn a teacher certificate. While she worked with young children with mild disabilities in her caregiver role, she has no previous experience working with children with more complex special needs, for example, autism, intellectual disabilities, and multiple disabilities. Interview midpoint observation. In the second observation, she was observed to lead scientific activities that focused on magnetism, such as identifying which objects exert a full or fast force on other objects. Devices that were not three, e.g., magnetic clip, magnetic wand, and allowing them to explore which items were interacting or pushing away from the object. Review or final observation. During the third observation, Sue was observed teaching a literacy lesson which focused on the sounds of the letters. So remote listen with a focus on sound in general, while maintaining the purpose of sound letters for children without disabilities. And sorry for the mistake.
The third material will be completed by my friends Neng Ayu.
Thanks to the moderator, here I will continue the material to be delivered. Interpretive analysis and discussion. So, based on interviews and observations, Sue begins her placement eager and excited about the clinical experience with students with severe disabilities. In the beginning of the school year, she was observed using supports that her mentor teachers had in place, such as picture schedules, interpretive analysis and discussion. So, based on interviews and observations, Sue began her placement eager and excited about the clinical experience with students with severe disabilities. In the beginning of the school year, she was observed using supports that her mentor teacher had in place, such as picture schedules. During her first observations, she appeared to be somewhat hesitant about how to engage with students, knowing that most students could not verbally communicate with her. Sue's body language suggests that she was hesitant to approach students when they need this level of support. Anissa, initial interview or observation. During the first interview, Anissa described her initial reactions. I was really excited at first, and then I got here, and then I was still excited, but I was nervous because I have never been with children who have very severe disabilities or even are nonverbal. In Anissa's post-observation, her supervisor helped her reflect on accommodating all students and identifying some ways that she could include all students in future lessons. Anissa's lesson prompts a further discussion with her mentor teacher on difference ways that the students could have communicated ideas such as through the use of pictures, cards, and assistive communication devices. Interview or observation. By the second observations, Anissa was developing close relationships with the students and slowly becoming more comfortable with supporting the needs of every student, such as communicating with students who are nonverbal. Anissa used a gentle tone when explaining activities. Next, final interview or observation. During the third observation, Anissa incorporates many inclusive and differentiated techniques in her lessons. She includes different cultural perspectives about holidays, use picture cards for both the daily schedule and for the classroom rules, and develop a book that allows students with limited verbal communication to communicate their choice about what holidays they celebrate. Interpretive analysis and discussion. Anissa. Based on interviews and observations, Anissa began her placement excited for the opportunity to learn, but nervous that she would not be able to connect to the students with disabilities. In the beginning of the school year, Anissa observed her mentor teacher teach the students and help one-on-one and eventually taught small and whole group lessons. In the first lesson Anissa taught, it was observed that she did not have specific instructional strategies that would allow students with severe disabilities to feel engaged or connect to the lesson. Emma, initial interview or observation. Emma previously worked at a therapeutic and recreational horseback riding center where she would go to the Special Olympics with the riding team. Although Emma had some experience in working with students with disabilities, this was Emma's first experience in a classroom setting with academic content. She states in her post-observations interview that I have worked with children with special needs, so it was overwhelming to see how different it was. During Emma's first observations, she worked with students one-on-one in art class. Emma supports the students by using verbal and gestural support, such as hand over hand to help the students stay on task. Emma also worked hand over hand with the students to help him paint flowers. Emma was able to give choice but was unable to find ways to communicate effectively with the students throughout the lessons because Emma's class was considered a behavioral class that focused on applied behavior analysis or ABA strategies. I'm sorry if there is an error. Thank you.
The next material will be conveyed by me. Midpoint interview. Emma did a lot of preparing about how to establish ties with the student while maintaining structure and adhering to behavioral expectation. Emma observed her mentor teacher using ABA strategies and communication device in this lesson. In Emma's observation, she stated, I feel at the beginning it was kind of uncomfortable at first, but now I feel a lot more comfortable. And that's from the support from my mentor teacher. Next, final interview. By the third observation, Emma was supporting student one during mathematics learning center work. Emma used picture communication card, model the activity, and asked the student to count and repeat to back to her. Emma was able to use ABA strategy to help keep the student focused and engaged. Next, interpretative analysis and discussion. Based on interview and observation, Emma had not worked with students with severe disabilities in a class setting until this placement. She was excited but nervous about building trust with the student while setting behavioral boundaries for them. By the second observation, Emma was able to successfully incorporate strategies that her mentor teacher effectively used with the student, such as using augmentative communication device and ABA strategies to teach skill. Next, analysis and findings. An analysis of initial findings of this study requires us to revisit the initial question. What is the lived experience of general education PSD in a special education setting with students with severe disabilities? That from both interview and observation were analyzed using an empiric counting technique. The empiric terms include concern, lack of knowledge for technique, and a large experience with children with disabilities. The first author created a table using the Aeroversion empiric code. This was followed by independent review of the interview transcript and observational notes by all researchers in this study. The next material is dance. 1. Accidentally. I don't really plan to ever teach speech and in initial interview. All 3 PSTS expressed excitement about including students with disabilities in the classroom, but concerned about being successfully in their meeting the needs of the children they were technique and their all of university course several expression. Observation of HPST and interview that all indicate positive growth in PST confidence related to access and ability to include students with disabilities in the meaningful interaction text. Term 2. Gaining pedagogical knowledge related to children with disabilities. The PSTS in this study observed and participate in instruction that include differentiation of the school system preschool, pre-kindergarten curriculum. The PSTS in this study observed and participate in modifying objectives for children with different types of special needs while also adhering to the grade-appropriate curriculum topics. All the participants in this studies note an increase in their ability to differentiate listen to meet the needs of children with severe disabilities and to incorporate universal design of learning UDL. And the last material will be conveyed by Rahmi.
Hello everyone. Before begin, I say thanks to God, thanks to Mr. Woman who has given me a little time for speech, for presentation, and from in front of you all. About I want to continue presentation about learning from a strong mentor, implication for early childhood teacher education, research, evidence-based practice, and then university school partnership and limitation. Okay, I want to begin. Learning from a strong mentor. When asked about made their experience valuable, all three PSTs described having a strong mentor teacher in the classroom who modeled effective teaching, differentiated instruction, and who knows the children. Soon noted her mentor's expert use of visual in the classroom and how this strategy can be used to make instruction more effective in every classroom. My mentor used a lot of visuals even with the typical fears, which I think helped them gain vocabulary, but then also helped them to communicate and to interact with two students who are nonverbal. So they have the words and the action like the simple Sikh language. Next, implication for early childhood teacher education. The participants are diverse in educational background and experience with young children with and without disabilities, and their placement varied. A small program implements this type of experience to early childhood general education teacher 14 ML Statis ATAL. Prevention programs research may want to focus on the benefit and weakness of different settings. They study expanded the types of required experience the early childhood PSTs have as a part of their preparation. Further, studies should expand on the pedagogical knowledge needed and combine field placement that specifically support students in teaching and supporting students with severe disabilities. Below are a few recommendations on how universities and schools can further support PTs in understanding the complex needs of varying disabilities. Next, research. Further research may investigate the effectiveness of this experience with a large sample of PSTs, including those who did not voluntarily choose a special education placement. Studying a large number of PTSD would also lend itself to an analysis of PSD effects related to inclusion. This factor was not addressed in this study due to the small number of participants. Based on observation, we feel it is possible the safe effects may have increased. This research helped the researchers explore the lived experience of the general education PSD in a special education early field experience. This information provides a meaningful initial step in better preparing early childhood PSTs for classrooms that are inclusive, feeder classroom with students with severe disabilities. Teacher education program can benefit both PSTs and the children in their feeder classroom. The result of this study are an exploratory initial step and may profit insight into improving early childhood teacher education. Next, about evidence-based practices. Providing this carefully planned experience requires programmatic support that includes close professors who are willing to modify assessment so that PSTs participating in special education field experience are not asked to implement activities and lessons that are not appropriate for the children they are teaching. Professors without prior experience in special education may need change over the years. This evidence-based practice still hold true. Based on reflection from this study and the nature of current classroom demographics, it is important that pre-service program develop general and special education teachers in areas that will enhance the quality of learning for students with severe disabilities. Free service programs can be revised to include coursework and field experience that teach high quality inclusive practice, as well as internationally teach free service teachers to understand why and how to teach instruction systematically through data-based instruction, use of evidence-based intervention strategies such as applied behavior analysis to help support students with severe disabilities is another important element to strengthen free service program in inclusive instruction. And then university school partnership. University school partnership. As teacher education program develop partnership between universities and special education school for this placement. It is critical that universities work closely with school administrators maximize the likelihood that PTS will be placed with strong mentor teacher who can provide expert models of high quality programming using evidence-based practice. Building relationships that benefit both the university partnership and the school where the special education program is located is important. Both may benefit from the experience. And the last limitation, as with any study, there are limitations in these findings. The first is that each of the PSTs in the study agreed to be placed in a special education setting for their field placement. The close location of field school to the university should also be considered, as many universities may not have access to a special education school in close proximity. These findings may have been different if the PSTs had been placed without prior knowledge and consent. due to school system restriction, the research were unable to collect students' assessment data from the mentor teachers or to evaluate the overall effectiveness of the instruction in each classroom. Finally, as with any interview or observation study, it is possible that the PST's behavior changed when they were observed and interviewed. Maybe enough from me, and I'm so sorry if I have many mistakes. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thanks for attention. I'm sorry if there are mistake in my group. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.